Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pod Leaders podcast from Thornton Gregory. Really, thank you so much for joining us, and especially thank you to the wonderful Sarah Hillman from the Travel Corporation, who has agreed to join us for a little while today and a little chat. So thank you. Welcome. How are you?
Great. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, all fine. All fine. Thank you. So we're going to have a little chat with Sarah today, who is Technology Director at the Travel Corporation, running all of the CRM and data for the, as I say, the wonderful Travel Corporation, who are a corporation of different travel businesses. And I think maybe it might be a good idea, actually, before we kick off into Sarah's background, to give a quick summary of who the Travel Corporation are, actually, Sarah, if that would be all right.
Yeah. The biggest travel company you've never heard of is
I know, that's what I always say.
Forbes. Forbes kind of coined that for us, and it is a great phrase. So we're a family-owned and run group of around 40 travel brands. We have a pretty broad portfolio, so everything from multi-day touring through to boutique hotels and river cruises, fully independent travel, so honeymoon and very bespoke travel, and destination specialists. And then, yeah, as you said, so I work in a group function, group technology and digital, and I'm the director of technology for CRM and data.
Amazing. Okay. So that's where we are at, but how did we get here? So we're going to have a little chat with Sarah through that. So yeah, how did you come to be sat in your seat as you are, Sarah?
A little bit of an unusual background, I would say, for a technology director. So I started out as a scientist. I worked on volcanic health hazard assessment for a few years.
Amazing.
And then did a career change. I went into a commercial role for a travel company, and then ended up in kind of big projects as part of that commercial role. And I was actually restructured into the IT team, and I was not very happy about it, because at that time I didn't really have any understanding of what technology was or the roles that were there. And probably a lucky coincidence then. And then I've progressively gone into more technical roles as I've progressed. So once I was restructured, I was in a project management team. Then I moved into a delivery role, so looking after a group of developers and technical specialists. And now I have a much broader role where I have both product and transformation teams, as well as the technical teams that all sit in my portfolio.
Amazing. Okay.
A bit of a roundabout journey compared to a lot of my peers, I'd say.
It's amazing how many senior people I speak to in this industry whose initial move into technology was a happy accident, who have then obviously used their skills to transform into and build into that role. But it is amazing how that has happened. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, obviously, working through your route to being director level at the moment. Women and in leadership, unfortunately, at the moment, are still far and few between. We are working on it. There are lots and lots of fabulous women in leading industry roles at the moment, especially more and more so within technology. I know that you are a big advocate of the coding programs that are bringing more women into junior dev roles as well, which is fantastic. But how have you found being a female leader within the industry and becoming and sitting in that seat, really?
It's definitely getting better. So when I first started out in tech, I think I was very acutely aware that there was not many women at any level, actually. And it did feel like a pretty intimidating environment to be in. And that's something I've been really mindful of now that I'm in a leadership role, is like, obviously I'm a huge advocate for women in tech because that's my experience and I can talk to that. But for anybody who feels like a minority, it's about making sure that they feel safe and included in work. And what that looks like, we do big programs. Yeah, we partner with Code First Girls, as an example, to bring female talent into the department so that we've got a pipeline of future female leaders. But often it's also about the really small things, like what language are we using? What is the tone of large meetings? That I think if you're not sat in that position where you're the only one, you might not realize that that's an intimidating environment, as an example. But huge progress, and it's really great to see the industry as a whole. I feel like now they actually get it. Like the men and the women understand that this is an issue that needs to be addressed in a very proactive way. Whereas when I first started out, I definitely didn't have that sense. So I'm very excited to be part of a growing number of women who are reaching leadership roles, but definitely still feels like we're a little bit in the minority. But I see the women that are coming through, and I'm super excited. So much talent.
Yeah,
So yeah, I've got a lot of optimism on the area, but I do think it's still something that we can't be complacent about. It still needs to be addressed, and addressed in a very mindful and proactive way. It's still not just going to happen. And so I take my responsibility as a female leader really seriously when it comes to that.
absolutely. I think mindful is such a really good word to use, because I'm very aware that we need to not flip it the other way and it be a scary subject to talk about and kind of a taboo thing. So just really making sure that it's just a constant being within meetings and things, and just making sure that's clear.
It's quite often when you talk about those kind of topics in the workplace, whether it's about your experience as a woman, whether it's other diversity topics, your experience in LGBTQ plus, your experience as BIPOC, those are difficult conversations. And to get staff at scale to feel comfortable with those conversations and to treat them with empathy, it doesn't matter what the topic is. The point is that we're practicing those skills in business that didn't exist before, that you can have a difficult conversation about experiences that you might not understand and feel like you're empathizing with your colleagues and kind of not coming from a place of conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I love that. Not from a place of conflict. Amazing. Good. So, obviously, you've been in the travel industry for quite some time, ex-TUI, and obviously been on board with the Travel Corporation for a reasonable amount of time now.
Nine,
Part of the
8
furniture.
years, eight
Yeah,
years.
absolutely. There's a huge amount of progress that's happened within the travel industry across the board. I've been working in it nearly 15 years. It's completely transformed in that time, from the old school GDS days right through to some really data forward and AI orientated projects and things. So when speaking out to other travel businesses, what kind of technology and data do you think should be at the forefront of people's planning currently?
Technology and data should be at the forefront. Obviously, I'm going to say that at the forefront of business planning. I think historically, and I would describe myself as like travel industry oriented first and technologist second still. So my biggest affinity is towards the travel industry. I think historically we've been the laggards from an adoption perspective. There are the online travel agencies who would describe themselves as technology firms who've come in and disrupted the industry, but the kind of more traditional travel companies, we have been quite slow to adopt new technology. That's not always a terrible idea to have disruptors go and test out, and then you can pick up the stuff that you want, but it still does need to be an acknowledgement, and something that I do see in the industry now is an acknowledgement that investment in technology and data it isn't a cost sink. It's a core part of your commercial business that needs to be thought about quite carefully. The other thing is that I've seen through a lot of industry conversations is sometimes we tend to overcomplicate it. So we think, oh, we've got to do all these big things and kind of recreate Google or look at personas that they definitely have their place. But there's so many simple things that we often overlook. So at the Travel Corporation, one of the biggest successes we had was to collect passport information up front so that American and Australian travelers, when they come to Europe and you have to provide passport information when you check in, didn't have to queue.
Amazing.
One of the most hated parts of anyone's travel experience is queuing, airport queuing, hotel queuing.
Yeah.
One of the simplest technology initiatives that I've ever done to collect that data in advance, to send it to the hoteler in advance so that they have everything they need, and our customers can go and spend 20 minutes in the bar, they can settle down in their room, they can have a bath in that time, instead of standing in a queue every time they get to a hotel. So yes, we should be looking at being more innovative in travel, but also there's just so many basics that are so easy to get right, that you can do today that would really help alleviate friction in the customer journey. And certainly the last few years, travel's probably had a bad press, particularly in Europe, when it comes to that like frictionless experience, photos of luggage piled up and things like that. And so mitigating that as much as possible is as important as kind of some of the more futuristic, how can we enable AI, how can we look at predictive modeling type of trends. Just get the basics right as well.
Absolutely. I think that's such a core to life.
Yeah.
In recruitment, absolutely. Just get the basics right. Remember to call people back. Remember to be polite and kind to people, and get all of that process in place from the beginning. And then everything else will fall into place. I think the moments that I've been a traveller, that we have had that seamless check-in experience is much more memorable for me than even some of the expectedly clunky ones. So yeah, get the basics right. Brilliant. So I was going to ask you about how you're using data to improve service, but that's an absolute perfect example of how that's happening. That's brilliant. Okay. So obviously Thornton Gregory and the Travel Corporation have been working together for many a moon, which has been hugely successful for everyone, which has been great. Establishing relationships as a data leader with recruitment partners obviously is quite an important part of the process. But when sourcing technology professionals, how have you found it recently, and have you seen any major changes in the market?
I would say it's always been quite tough, particularly in the UK. Tech and data roles are a skills shortage. It's kind of an employee market, and so for us, recruitment, we don't really treat it. It isn't a silo that's done by a people and culture team. Like, it's very much part of my responsibilities to think about like how we're branded and how can we sell our roles better, and how can we make sure that we've got succession planning in the department. So all of these things are kind of integral to us, and it definitely feels like it's as much a sales role now as it is a kind of checking somebody's skills job. So we spend a lot of time making sure that the hiring managers we have the right skills to explain our company benefits well, to talk about the advantages of working in the travel industry more generally. And then there's, similarly for me, recruitment partners are an important part of my role as my partnerships with our technology suppliers, because if we don't have the right staff to support that technology, it can really slow us down. But because travel has this reputation of being a little bit behind, I would say we probably have to work a little bit harder than some other industries to bring talent in. And really, you can't just rely on it's a travel company and everyone who likes travel will come and work for us message anymore. Like, we look a lot at how can we be ahead of the market when it comes to flexible working. How can we highlight the kind of culture of our team and the culture of the industry generally, not just it's a travel, but look, like everyone's really friendly, and kind of bring in these other aspects when we're talking to candidates about roles.
Absolutely. Selling the things outside of the core of what you're going to be doing every day is an absolute must. I think even if we were going into market, that's something that if you're spending every day with people, you want to be knowing that they're going to look after you, as well as you're going to be doing something that you enjoy every day. So that's something that the Travel Corporation does really well, actually. is really drill down that project information and
It's
also
been really nice, actually. I had a conversation just with a member of staff that we brought in. So we advertised specifically targeting people who wanted flexible roles.
yeah,
So these kind of higher flexibility roles, if you like, where you could apply even if you were looking at reduced hours.
in 3 days.
Um, and we've promoted a few people who've come in, and it was interesting to listen to one of those staff members where they were saying, the reason that I joined the travel corporation and not a different company that had a higher salary was because every single staff member was talking about the benefits and what a great place it was to work. And I could really buy in with the values and the vision of the department, and the consistency through the recruitment process is what kind of gave us the edge. So I think it's salary is important, and we have to be mindful that that travel industry has to be at market rate. I don't think it's possible. Historically, probably we were like, oh, but everyone loves travel, so we can pay a bit less. I don't think that that's a privilege we have anymore.
Yeah.
But it isn't always just a salary decision. So making sure that a candidate's experience through recruitment is consistent, it's professional, we're getting back to candidates on time, the messaging is the same from all staff members. It's the same that we would do with our customers from a marketing perspective, right? And we've definitely seen, I don't think that conversation is an isolated case. Like, people will come to us because we're making a lot of effort to run our recruitment as professionally as how we interact with our customers.
Absolutely. And that rings true even when all of the candidates that we placed have started and engaged. It's not something that's just during the recruitment process. It is really in the blood of what the travel corporation does, is doing the basics really well and just making sure that everything that you say gets done, which is really good. And unfortunately a little bit unique in the moment, but it's good. So I mean, looking forward, really, there are some big changes happening. It feels like even in 2023, from where we are from January to November is miles apart. There's big changes that have happened in every part of technology. So what are you excited about next that's coming up?
Oh, loads of things.
The
The thing that's really excited me this year is watching almost like democratization of technology. And sometimes technology leaders can be very nervous of that, like it's a loss of control. But for me, when I look at the fact that our digital teams and our business teams can, with guidance, go and use ChatGPT and enable themselves. Our hotel brand Recreation have an AI-based system that allows them to assess food waste and make improvements. Like, Recreation is absolute leader when it comes to sustainability, but they've done that with minimal input from group technology.
Wow.
And that's super exciting, because then you can start to see our role is potentially changing, but it also means that we have more time to focus on the kind of bigger, more difficult building blocks that may have been deprioritized, because we're able to just produce some guidelines for team members and brands, and then they can go and enable themselves. And I think for me, when I'm thinking as a technology leader, I'm always looking at, like, what is the impact on the business? My role is an enablement role. I'm not really like delivering the business output. I'm enabling business. And so the more we have these cool technologies where they can go and self-enable, the more excited I am, because you can see what the benefit is for the business on that. And it's, it's definitely an AI tsunami at the moment.
Yeah.
There's huge potential. And I'm also mindful that I was in the travel industry when it was the digital tsunami, and there are some historical kind of disasters of people not being mindful about it or overestimating what it can be. But it still is super exciting to see the potential and to be in what I would describe as another big wave. Kind of 15, 20 years later, I'm like, oh, I've been in this wave before, and those waves are good fun because the
It's
progress is
really
so
fun. It's really fun. You're right. Out of all of these things come winners and some mediocre suggestions, and we never know which one's going to be which at the beginning, right? I think there's good investment in innovation, and it's amazing to hear that those kind of AI processes are being used for good and for green. I mean, that's you can't ask for better than that. That's pretty
it's,
much technology
you know, I'm
advancement.
a little bit jealous. Like, I'm excited, but I was like, oh, if
I
I'd
wish.
been cool to do it.
Yeah,
I'm still more excited about the outcome than I am about the doing. So I'm
yeah.
still like, actually, I'm just happy because maybe it would have got lost in a priority queue if it had come to us.
Well, exactly. Get to do some of the big building block stuff, as you
Mhm.
said. It's really cool as well. That's cool. Amazing. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time, Sarah, but thank you so much for running through just a little bit about you and a little bit about how things are going at the moment in the travel industry. But we always sign off a little bit with a few questions. So I'm just going to throw them at you, and I haven't warned you about these either. So, so are you a tea or coffee person?
Both.
Both.
My accent has changed a lot in the last 15 years, but I'm actually a northerner, and I don't think you can say you're from the north if you're not heavily into a good cup of tea. But I do need a coffee in the morning. So
I know it's always a good start to the day. Are you a film or music person?
music,
Amazing. Pizza or pasta?
pasta.
This is a tough one. Next one. Dog or cat?
I can't choose. I have both. They're both amazing in their different ways.
Okay, amazing. Ski or sun?
Ooh. Sun. I do like skiing, but definitely a warm climate person.
Sun out and the sun. And are you in a restaurant or you're in the club?
I used to be in the club and now I'm in a restaurant.
I know, time has changed. Time has changed. Thank you so much, Sarah. I so appreciate it. That is perfect. What a perfect ending. Thank you.
Thanks.